So here's 4 fundamental hitting concepts that we care about. So those are movements, these are swing concepts. One is swing plane, which is basically the vertical angle of the swing arc through the hitting zone. And I'll give you an example here in a minute. Swing path, that's the horizontal direction of the swing through the swing arc. So if the vertical angle is whether I'm swinging up or swinging down, that's swing plane. Swing path is where I'm swinging out or through the middle or swinging in and across the body. Connection is the process of how we load our body to create power. So we want to load the lower body, our middle body, and an upper body. And then a kinematic sequence is basically how we unload the lower, the middle, and the upper body in our swing, okay? So this is from Ted Williams' Science of Hitting from a long, long time ago. I think that book was written in 1968. And what Williams talked about was swinging through the plane of the pitch, okay? So everybody agrees that the ball comes down out of the pitcher's hand like this. So if we're gonna square that ball up, we want our bat to match that path and swing through it as closely as possible. And what that gives you is the greatest amount of error. If you're late, you hit the ball. If you're on time, you hit it here. And if you're early, you hit it out there. But if your swing is either going down too much like this, or if it's a flat pitch, up too much like this, you're not on playing with the pitch long enough to be consistent. And the best players of the world have the longest path through the zone. There's a video from Swings or Sports Science on ESPN with Miguel Tejada. This was not Miguel Tejada. Detroit Tigers. Anyway, look up sports science and hitting, and what you'll find is that the best hitters are on playing with the pitch 50% longer than your average hitters. They basically get the bat in the zone earlier and stay on it a lot longer than your average hitter. So we focus on that a lot with what we teach when we're focusing on hitting here at Hitforth. Again, swing path is a horizontal direction of the barrel through contact. So what we see is Pete Rose there on the bottom. You can see that the circular path of the bat at first starts inside out to contact here at the back of the zone. It starts to square up towards the front edge of the plate. And then towards the inside, the hands start working to the left and across the ball. And that's when he starts to pull it or release the barrel out and through the path of the pitch. So what we're looking for is an ideal path that stays inside out to the path and has a square through the path, almost an ellipse path, rather than a circular path right around the body or 2 inside out or 2 across the ball. We want it to feel and look like an ellipse, like that yellow line there on the bottom right. Connection is how we load and how we stay loaded as a hitter. So if you look at the picture of Trout right here on the bottom left, he's loaded into the back ankle. His back ankle is on the ground right here. His hip is coiled, so he's got load into his back hip, and he's got drawback in his upper body. So his hands are drawn back and loaded. As he strides forward and he gets to heel strike here, he still has his heel on the ground. He is still loaded in his back hip, and he still has drawback. He has not unloaded his swing yet. He has stayed into his hip, stayed into his back heel, and stayed into his back. He still has connection that allows him to make an adjustment. If he's late on the pitch, he may start to unload from his pelvis before his front foot lands. He may get hip rotation. But in studying our hitters, studying professional hitters, most players stay loaded into their hip, load into their heel, and load into their upper back into heel strike. And it's after heel strike, between heel strike, first move, and contact, when they create the most amount of separation and hip rotation before the torso and so on. And this is the kinematic sequence. So the kinematic sequence for developing power efficiently is pelvis rotates first, torso rotates second, lead arm gets speed third, and the bat whips through last. And that's what we call summation of speed. Every body segment from the pelvis rotating to the torso to the lead arm to the hands gains speed from the segment that came before it. Each segment should move about 1.5 times faster than the segment that came before it for efficient power, okay? There are big leaguers that swing out of sequence. Maybe their lead arm starts to go right after their hips. I want you guys to realize that the average difference between a high school hitter and a big leaguer or a professional hitter is 50 pounds of muscle. Because they're generally bigger, stronger guys, they can get away with a slightly less efficient sequence and still produce a lot of power because they are generally bigger guys. But if you have a smaller player, the first thing we should be focusing on is building efficiency in the swing sequence and then learning to get size and strength after. Some of us never get size, okay? But strength can be gained and developed and built, okay? On the bottom right, this is the kinematic sequence of Mike Trout. The line going up is his hip rotation. It gains maximum speed right here and it starts to slow down. That's when the torso gains speed and slows down. That's when the arms gain speed, then, or the peak speed, and then the bat peak speed. And peak speed is right before contact. The biggest gains happen after heel strike, which is this line back here, and between first move and contact. This is when most of the speed starts to happen. So as the hips start to unwind, the hands start to go forward is when the most amount of stretch. The hips start to rotate, the hands stay back. You create this stretch and sequence in your swing that gives you efficient power at contact. The guys that hit the ball hard, they don't look like they're swinging hard or swing efficiently. I think the mistake we make as coaches of young players that we just tell them to not swing hard and to swing easy, when really we should be trying to get them to swing hard as possible with an efficient sequence. All right, so those are the basics